want to highlight something that I learned while unpacking for this trip.
Hi, we're Dennis and Michelle.
As we approached an empty nest, we dreamed of the day when we could travel more.
But then we decided we should stop thinking about traveling and start actually doing it.
We are transitioning to full-time travel by first going on day trips, weekend camping trips, and sometimes even longer trips.
So come along with us as we take a trip together.
If you remember back to the beginning of the video, and I was packing up and I said I was trying to save space, and so I laid the tarp flat and I laid the sleeping bags flat and then put everything on top of them. That was all fine and dandy until we got here, and the first thing that I needed to get out of the car to use was the tarp for underneath the tent.
Which was at the very bottom of the pile of everything.
Yeah, so we need to, what we learned is, yes, we need to think spatially, but we also need to think about how we're going to unpack and what we're going to need first.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, kind of trying to pack in backwards chronological order. You know,
Yeah.
So the things you need first are the easiest things to grab when you first get there.
Right. Now, again, sometimes that doesn't work because you just can't fit everything into the spaces you need done.
Right.
You don't want super heavy stuff sitting on top of light stuff. So, I mean, you have to kind of play it by ear. But
Right.
in this situation, it would have been a whole lot easier to have the tarp sitting someplace where I could have had it right away with the tent and done that first, and then we could have unpacked everything.
Right.
As it was, we had to pull pretty much everything out of the car to get to the tarp, and then set up the tent, and then do everything else.
Right.
And it just didn't flow very well.
But we learned.
Lesson learned.
Yep, I think
For sure.
I think one of the things we're trying to do with this trip, this is the very first trip out this summer. And so if we can learn at least, one thing that we could do better next time so that we can try to make it smooth,
Yeah.
try to make it, more enjoyable and less work, I think that's a pretty good goal.
Yeah.
We have several wins from this trip, things that we did well that went smoothly, and the first one is bringing along a Porta Potti, a cassette toilet. We have had negative experiences in the past with a tent because every little sound, like dogs barking or whatever in the middle of the night, wakes you up, and then you have to run to the bathroom. Well, last night it was a torrential downpour and we didn't have to leave the tent, and
Right.
it went really well having that with us, and it wasn't gross like I was afraid it would be, and it didn't smell or anything.
No,
So
I mean, we're just doing number one in it, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just for those middle of the night
Yeah.
occurrences.
It was a win.
Yeah,
for sure
for sure.
me. That definitely made my camping experience less awful, having to try to get up and get dressed in the middle of the night and run through the rain to the bathroom.
Yeah, and I just never would let Michelle go to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
No.
Anyway, I'd walk her there and wait for her. So we're both getting up to do that. So
Right.
in this situation with the porta potty, whoever needs to go, they get out of bed and
Go.
go. Worked out well.
Yeah. Yep. Another win was the way we had our food set up and cleanup. So we brought a copper pan with us to use, and we had our camp stove, and we had a collapsible dish pan. We didn't have to use hardly any water at all to clean that pan and our flipper for our food, and we were able to eat almost every meal here at
Yeah.
the campground without having to eat out all the time.
Yeah,
So,
we only went out once, and that was on the way here. So
Right. So a lot of times we will, after a trip, we'll kind of, your stomach feels a little off and you just don't feel quite right because you've eaten out a lot and had a lot of rich food. We were able to eat, things that were on our normal diet and feel good.
yeah. I think the other win that we could say is the tent we chose. Seems to, well, it held up really well in the rain. I mean, there were a couple of spots of tiny droplets of water here and there in the corners. We realized one of them was kind of where the electrical cord comes in through the thing. I didn't have the flap over top of the cord well enough, and a little bit of water got in, so that's really my bad. The other spot was along one of the doors in the zipper. I don't know what's going on there. I'll have to take a better look at it, but it wasn't much. It was, for all the rain that we got, yeah, it was droplets.
I was able to just wipe it up with a sock and it was done.
Yeah.
So the thing is, there was a pond of water between the tent and the tarp.
Yeah.
In this bowl that we were in last night, and it didn't leak.
No. And that's probably another lesson learned, is to make sure our tarp underneath the tent is completely underneath the tent and can't open up and get water in to get it in between.
Right, because we did tuck the tarp. We attempted to tuck the tarp underneath the tent, but we didn't tuck it far enough. Far enough so that it kind of popped back up and caught rain, a lot of rain. And we probably, knowing rain was coming, should have walked around the tent before we went in for the night, just to make sure it was secure.
Yep.
So, but otherwise, I think that was pretty good.
It was good. And learning from the past, we're going to do a little different.
Yep.
I mean, that's all you can do. What's that phrase? Do the best you can until you know better.
And then when you know better,
do better.
Do better.
Yeah. Maya Angelou?
Maya Angelou. Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be our motto from now on. So.
Well, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right.